Hey everybody, welcome back. This is a continuation video from the flow loop basics video. And as a quick refresher, what we did there was I covered some of the basics of flow and also some of the basics of using a loop in a flow. And what we did was we made something that will count all of the beers at a specific brewery by type. And in the example, we did IPAs, and it then updated the IPAs field. We had a 3 in here before when we were all done. I changed it back to 0, just so that we don't get false test results coming up. But now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to launch that flow from Process Builder, and then also launch that flow from a custom button that has a Visualforce page behind it. So what we're going to do with the Process Builder side of it is we're going to launch it the first time that a beer becomes the type of an IPA. And I want to highlight the first time because if we update this Pine Drops record, just to update it in general, we don't need the flow to fire and recalculate because nothing important has changed. Only if, say, we update Mirror Pond from Pale Ale to IPA. Although everyone knows that Mirror Pond is a pale ale, of course. Um, but so what you'll want to do before you get started is go into that flow that we made, and you're going to want to make sure you activate it. So if you see activate here, just click that. It'll reload the page. You're in good shape. If you see deactivate, then you're one step ahead. Type should be auto launched flow. If it just says flow here, something was set wrong when you first made the flow. Go back into it, resave it, and change the type to auto launched flow. Once you're all good there, let's go ahead into Process Builder. And just to talk about Process Builder for just a second, I'm a big fan of having one process per object, just so that you don't clutter up your system, and it helps you to control, have more kind of organization over the automation that's happening in your system, in particular the order of execution. Hugely important. I'm not going to dwell on and teach you the point of how to have one process per object in this video. I think it would be best if I did completely separate sessions on that. But the base of it is a naming convention is where it starts, and I just call things object name process. So since we're starting from the beer object, this is beer process. I use the same description template every time too. I'm going to post this template along with the video too so that you've got it. And I encourage you to make something that works for you. And we're going to start this process when a record changes. We're going to pick our object. And so now I'm going to get into actually building this thing out. The other thing that you'll want to do when you do one process per object is always have it when a record's created or edited. In my last tangent, before I actually dive into the process, is in this advanced section, recursion, allowing this to process multiple times when the same record passes through this. Be very careful with this. Process Builder, especially used with Flow, is not, let's say, optimized for speed, and you can get some ugly timeout errors sometimes, or things take, seconds to save and all of that, and it's just because that record is continuing down your Process Builder tree every single time. So use this very sparingly. Oh, sorry, let's get back in here. Beer and created or edited. Cool. All right, so criteria. So we want this to, so essentially stepping back, since our flow right now only counts beers that are IPAs, we're just going to stick with that. And so I want this process to fire anytime that a beer is an IPA. We can just set that right here with the conditions. Process Builder is pretty easy in terms of finding your way around where things are and how to use the different drop-down menus. So now we have type equals IPA, and it needs to meet all of those conditions because it's just the one of them. Where the magic comes in too, or one place that it does, is in this advanced setting. We're going to want to check this yes, because we want this to only execute when the specified change is made. This specified change is that the beer is an IPA. So if the record saved and nothing changes, and it was an IPA and is still an IPA, this won't fire. If it changes to an IPA or the record's created and it's an IPA, it'll fire. So we're going to save that. We're going to go ahead and add our action, which is a flow in this case. And let's just call this recalculate, can't spell, recalculate beer inventory. And so as you tab down, we have our flow that just pops up here. This won't pop up if your flow isn't active. Sometimes it doesn't pop up if you've loaded Process Builder while you've activated that flow. You would just need to go all the way back to setup and reload Process Builder essentially, and it'll come in. But once you've got it, now we're looking at setting our flow variables. So again, remember back from the previous video, we start on our brewery record and we want to get the record's ID, the actual 18 character ID instead of just that 15, but we want to get that ID into the flow so that it can only get beers from this brewery, and that's where we do that here. This record's edited, it comes through the process, or the beer's edited, it comes through the process, yeah, it's an IPA. And so we're going to go into our IPA counter and we're going to set the brewery ID variable that we have there, a reference of the different choices. Reference will let you pick related records, and so we're going to pick our brewery and we're going to save this. Cool. So now what we have is beer's IPA, launch the flow, click activate, and we're good to go. So back over to our brewery. So we have 0. I want to check to make sure that this only fires when it needs to. And so instead of me creating a new beer or incorrectly changing Mirror Pond IPA to see if it counts, it gives us 4, I'm going to fix my spelling error in Fresh Squeeze to see if it's still 0. Because what I'm doing here is it's still IPA. And so, indeed, we do have 0. So we're in good shape. So instead of changing Mirror Pond to the wrong beer type, let's just add a new beer. I mean, everyone knows Chasing Freshies. Obviously, it's Deschutes Fresh Hop IPA. So we've made our new IPA. And we're now on our new IPA record. Come back to Deschutes, and indeed, we do have 4 IPAs. So it worked, it fired, yay, that's all good and fun. You may see the flaw in this if you haven't already as I was explaining the process. This fired and we're all well and good and it counted it. Something that you'll look to do as you get more advanced with Process Builder and Flow is it can be helpful before you make this update to IPAs is checking if it needs to be updated, because there may be another process on brewery that says, you know, when any of these fields change, fire off another process and do something else that then does something else, and you snowball your way into like a big massive transaction after you just updated one silly field. So if we're gonna really get down into the weeds, what would have been good to build into our flow is, hey, check the brewery total for that field and see if it needs to be updated or not. If it does need to be updated, then update it. If it doesn't, then do nothing, essentially. So, but we'll get more into those nuances in future videos. But for now, that worked beautifully, and we've got our simple solution. So moving on to the next one is creating a custom button over here that will recount our total. Because if we went and deleted any of these IPAs, this value isn't going to get updated. So without writing a trigger that'll fire, you know, on a delete, we can get kind of part of the way there with a custom button. So I'm going to pull out my best friend, this little force.com widget over here. I'm going to click on View Object to get into my custom object. I am going to now make a new button or link. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just call it refresh your inventory, let's say. And so we have our different options here. We have detail page button is what we're going to want to put it up at the top of the page here. And then the behavior to display it in certain areas. What we'll end up doing is displaying it in the existing window without the sidebar or the header. And what we're going to end up doing is getting a Visualforce page and firing it from there. Right now we have nothing. So I'm just showing you where we're going to end up. So in your search, type in pages and open this up in a new tab. So we're in our Visualforce pages. Let's click new. This is probably not the best way to do it because this text editor is only as beautiful as it is, but this will work for our purpose. So what we want to do here is we want to let's say fire IPA count flow. Something that will make sense to you. There's probably an actual better name for this, but this will do for our example. And we've got that. And even if you've never done Visualforce before and not a coder, just follow along with me. And in the post, I have this boilerplate code. So paste this on in here, and this will get you where you need to be. I have some templates for object name, and to step you through what this does is the object name is our object. So everywhere you see object name, just put your object. So brewery, brewery, brewery. Cool. At the very top, Apex page, opening tag, standard controller points to the object that you're on, essentially. That's all that you need to know until you start getting more familiar with this. This first little section is where we define our actual flow. So go back to our flow, get our unique name, copy that, and paste that on flow name. Finish location. This is a handy trick. You can define the finish location based on this right here. This is the brewery's ID. So this is the same thing as this. So if we want our flow to finish on the record that we started, all you need to do is define the finish location as your object name.id. Again, you can get creative with this and have it end up in other places too, but we'll just use this for right now. Down below here is where we can define what we call an apex parameter. And the name of the parameter is literally just the variable in our flow. And since we use our naming conventions, v_brewery ID is what I called my brewery ID. And the value of that is, so since we've subbed all of our object names, we're in good shape to continue on here, brewery.id, and we're good to go. If we need more of these, copy that, paste it down here, and stick something else there if you need to. And you can repeat that, and I mean obviously you would change your flow variable and things like that, and you can repeat that as long as you need. So something to point out too, if you're doing Lightning and mobile and things, just check this box before you get too far. But once you're in good shape here, hit quick save to see if there's any errors. Some of the common ones will just be syntax formatting on the field notation here that you're using, but hitting quick save will essentially save the Visualforce page. If we come back over to our custom button, to save me the typing, I'm just going to copy this text that I put in there. I'm going to refresh this, make myself a new custom button. So tabbing down, detail page, and set it to the existing window without the sidebar or header, and the content source is a Visualforce page. which we now have. Quick saving again will also catch any low-hanging errors, and it says the save is successful, so we're in good shape. What we're going to do is I'm going to first just set this back to 0. I'm going to use my pullout out here again, edit the layout, grab a button, stick our new custom button on here, refresh beer inventory, hit save. If you don't know about this pullout thing too, by the way, it's a huge help. It saves me so much time, so I definitely recommend checking it out. So now we have our new button here, refresh beer inventory. When you click that, reloads the screen right back where you're at, and now we do indeed have 4 IPAs. You'll notice if we delete, let's say we delete inversion, we still have 4 because we don't have anything listening for deletes, but we can refresh the beer inventory and the same thing will happen. So that's a cool trick for how to do that. If we didn't set this finish location, in the Visualforce page, what's going to happen is this is going to give us a your flow finish screen, which is fine. It's not ideal. You can make a custom screen that will be at the end of your flow that you can present the user with, say, some information or a link to go to another record or things like that. But doing this trick with the finish location is a lot slicker of a solution. And so now when we use that, people can click this all day long and be on the same record. So I hope that was helpful. As always, feel free to reach out if you're getting stuck or you have additional questions. But look out for more videos on how to enhance our flow. The next one that I'm thinking about doing is one that will refresh the beer inventory for all 5 types using a master flow that goes into a updated version of this new flow. That'll also do things like checking if the value needs to be updated or not. So look out for that coming up, and thanks for watching.